Hi, Spooky Recap here. Today, I'll be explaining a horror film called Stay Alive. The film starts with a large plantation and the character enters an old mansion. Down the hallway, he witnesses a few undead creatures. Then, he hears a low buzzing sound. He turns around and a woman in red jumps at him. Desperate to escape, he climbs up the stairs and gets strangled to death. The guy playing the game is Loomis, a friend of the protagonist, Hutch. He tells Hutch about the new game but Hutch is busy. Loomis hears some loud noises coming from upstairs and investigates, but it turns out to be a couple having fun. He was going to fetch a glass of milk when he hears a buzzing noise. Loomis throws his glass at a dark figure and rushes up, only to see the couple's bodies morbidly drained of blood. He then gets strangled by a chain and breaks his neck. The next day, while talking to his boss Miller, Hutch receives news of Loomis's death. At the funeral, Hutch meets a girl named Abigail and gets a bag of Loomis's possessions from his sister, including the game Stay Alive. Hutch meets up with his girlfriend October and her brother Phineas. They go through the bag and we learn that Hutch has a phobia of fire. Finn notices Stay Alive and persuades them to give it a try. Over at Hutch's house, they are joined by Abigail and another friend, Swink, while Hutch's boss Miller plays online from his office. They realize they have to recite the Prayer of Elizabeth together in order for the game to progress, and seemingly awaken some evil spirit from the past. A voice tells them they have been marked for death but they shrug it off. The game is set in the dilapidated mansion of the Gerouge plantation. As the players fight their way through a cemetery of evil ghost children, they are told that roses will keep them alive. Inside, they come across a portrait of the infamous Countess Elizabeth, who bathed in the blood of young girls to stay young. Miller ventures into a tunnel alone and steps into a sick torture chamber. Out of roses, a woman in red kills Miller's character. The group calls it a night but Miller starts seeing things on his way back home. In his room, he hears a weird buzzing sound from under the table and realizes that it is coming from a console. Upon getting up, he gets killed by the same woman in red. The cops question Hutch about the homicide and try to accuse him. Hutch realizes that both Loomis and Miller died the same way as they did in the game. A little altercation breaks out as Finn insists that Hutch is overreacting and continues with the game. Abigail and October try to console Hutch but Swink agrees with Hutch that it might be more than just a coincidence. Meanwhile, Finn sees a dark carriage and a mirror which cracks, but he hears something and pauses the game. Hutch rushes off to check on Finn but he turns out to be just asleep. Everyone starts having weird visions from the game and the line between reality and the game blurs. Hutch digs deeper and realizes that Loomis died from a broken neck like in the game, and Miller was killed by the same 14-inch adjoined twin blades. Hutch shows the findings to his friends and Gothic reader October reveals that the game is true to every detail. On his way over, Phineas almost crashes his car when a ghost figure appears in front of him. He calls October for help but gets run over by a carriage before they can get to him. The cops show up but do not believe Hutch's explanation. One of them tries out Stay Alive and dies in the game before Hutch can stop him. Desolated, October pledges to avenge her brother. Later, the same cop gets mysteriously killed in his car. While searching Loomis's house, Hutch tells Abigail about his hatred for fire. When he was a kid, his delusional dad had set his house ablaze, killing his mom. Inside, Hutch finds an address to the game company. October explains that the evil spirit needs to be nailed and burnt to be truly killed. News of the dead cop appears just as police cars pull up downstairs. October and Swink make a run for Loomis's house. At the house, they see October's game playing by itself and the group rushes to search for her. Blinded by revenge, October follows a ghostly figure into a construction site. She sneaks up and fires a nail gun at the Countess but it goes through her. Desperate to escape, October gets caught by a chain and is pulled back. Hutch hears her scream and bolts over. October struggles for her life but to no avail as the Countess slits her throat open. Her friends arrive but it's too late. Abigail drives them to the game company and Hutch starts blaming himself for bringing the game. Swink decides to play the game and act as a decoy while Hutch and Abigail look for the Countess's body. Inside, they notice a doll of the Countess in her black carriage. Abigail climbs up the stairs to investigate. Swink realizes that the building resembles the mansion in the game and navigates Hutch to the graveyard. Hutch realizes the graveyard is just like the Gerouge plantation and the Countess's body is in the tower. In the attic, Abigail finds the same adjoined twin blades and diary. The lights go out and she screams for help while covered in insects. Swink gives Hutch a crowbar from the game and unlocks the door for him. He then throws some roses at the Countess, saving Abigail in real life. Back in the car, the door closes by itself and Swink narrowly escapes death. Swink realizes that the Countess is coming for him no matter what, and makes a run for his life. He gets caught in rose thorns and the Countess gets to him. Hutch and Abigail realize that Swink's character is dead and they collect some nails and roses to fight the Countess. The two head straight to the tower while being chased by the carriage. Hutch keeps Abigail safe and takes out the carriage. They head down, running past some evil spirits, and reach a torture chamber. The door slams shut and Abigail and Hutch get separated. Hutch gives her his last rose and heads upstairs to destroy the body. He finds the Countess's dead body and starts hammering in the nails. Abigail gets caught by the Countess, who tries to drain her blood. Hutch hammers in the last nail and saves Abigail. Suddenly, the Countess wakes up and the nails fall out. Hutch uses the laptop as a mirror and the Countess screams in horror. He sets the place ablaze only to find the door locked. Hutch cowers in a corner and fights against the flashbacks of his traumatic childhood experience. All of a sudden, the door busts open and Swink turns out to be alive. Abigail reaches for Hutch and he grabs her hand, leaving the Countess to burn. The trio leaves the plantation together. In the final scene, a video game store worker notices Stay Alive among the new games. We see many copies for sale and the game plays out. Thank you for watching Spooky Recap. Until next time.